After Loro Parque, I was hungry. So I went to the restaurant that I usually went to every day after my workout, which was Los Asadores. Honestly, it is an absolutely amazing restaurant within itself. I switched it up a few times while I was there to go to other places throughout the days or in the nights or in the evenings, but Los Asadores, great price, great food. That particular night after the park, I went and I ordered the veal. So I got the veal, potatoes, salad with a beer. Cost me somewhere around just over 20 Canadian dollars. Would have been probably about 20 euros, so maybe closer to 30 Canadian, just under. But I got a nice big piece of veal with potatoes and salad, and that did it for me for the night. I went in and I caved, and I was good. I'd been on my trip for a few weeks. I'd gone to Ireland, back to different parts of Spain, and Tenerife. I was sad to go, but I enjoyed myself overall. So that last morning, my friend had brought me to a nice little deli in the morning, and like I said, when it comes to Spain, they do a lot of sandwiches, bocadillos, I guess, all types of different in Spain, different parts of Spain, but that's like a staple for the morning. So we had gone there ahead, and we ordered just some kind of grilled sandwiches with some cheese, can't recall if it was eggs, maybe some lettuce, tomatoes, something along the lines of that. And we had coffee as well. And then I saw some cake, nice tea in the morning. I didn't eat it in the morning, but I still ordered it. It had some icing on it, so like a bonus for me. That's probably what drew me to it. But I ordered that, as well as we had the coffee and the sandwich for both me and her. It came to about just under 15 euros for both, with the coffees and the cake. But I ordered that, and we stood up top at a bit of a peak over, wasn't necessarily a mountain, but we were a bit higher than an area that was lower than us, as we could see that it was kind of a hill going down to some other residences. But where I sat, if you look right behind me in this picture, you can see a tit. Now that tit, well, that's the way that she kind of referred to it. But a tit at the top of that mountain. Now that mountain is Mount Teide. That mountain is the highest mountain, the highest peak of a mountain in all of Spain. It was right there, sitting right on my shoulder. That tit was right on my shoulder, which is fine. I had no problem with that. I think this is a great photo, but I didn't get to go to the mountain and get to see it up close and in person. It is a tourist destination for people, but it was captured right in the photo behind me. And it was just fascinating to me to be made aware that it was the highest mountain in all of Spain. So that was interesting. We had our breakfast, and my flight was, a few hours. And when I was in Ireland, I had missed my flight getting over to Madrid, which I never got to get to because I missed my flight. And I said to myself, that is not happening this time. I am not missing my flight now or never again. So I left quite early. I had to drive from the north back down to the south of Tenerife, which is where the car rental company was, closer to the airport in the south, as opposed to the north, which is where I actually was catching my flight from. So I had to get that hour ride in the rental back down to the south to go return the vehicle. Now, when I went to return the vehicle, it was still a good rental. I had a Benz, no complaint there. I spent about $100 for 5 days, which is pretty damn cheap. But when I got there, we walked around the vehicle because I had taken photos and video at first when I got there, and because they told me to go around the circumference of the vehicle or the perimeter of the vehicle and to see if there was any damage and to identify and report, which is what I did for the damages that I could visibly see when I took the vehicle. Now when I returned this, and I'd never heard of this before, there was damage underneath the vehicle, which technically could have been there before I even got the vehicle, because it was under the front bumper. It was kind of scraped a bit. I mean, anybody could have pulled in at whatever point in time to maybe a curb, maybe brushed some sort of rocks or gravel or something along the lines of that and scraped the bottom of that bumper. But everything kind of settled on me. Now, luckily for me, luckily for Capital One, because that's a credit card that I used to get my rental, they actually had the benefits that covered me as an insurance coverage if I use it to rent a vehicle whenever I was renting it abroad or even in the city if I'd be at home. So that is what I used to rent the vehicle. I usually use American Express, but American Express isn't accepted in a lot of different places, so I couldn't use it there. So I used my Capital One card, when I got the rental, so it actually covered. But still, I felt like them charging me was not justifiable because we don't know if it was there beforehand, which is why it's good to either get the insurance when you get a car rental abroad or to use a credit card that allows insurance coverage so that you're not hit with a bill that you got to pay out of pocket. After I dropped the vehicle off, I took the shuttle bus that brought me back to the South Airport in Tenerife and went back the same way I took to get to the car rental company in the first place. I went on one bus, stopped in Santa Cruz, and from Santa Cruz went over to the northern part, to the North Airport in Tenerife. I got there probably about 3 hours early, 3.5 hours early or so, maybe even 4 hours early. And I just waited until I was able to check in. So even on my way back home, there was a number of flights I had to take. I was going from Tenerife to Valencia, from Valencia to Barcelona, Barcelona to Montreal, Montreal to Toronto. So I knew that I was gonna have a large wait period of time in between each destination, each place that I had to stop. So I know that because of that, the one thing and the one cool benefit that I had when traveling from one place to the next or going from airport to airport is that I have access to the lounges.
Like a 4 airport tour of lounges. I get a VIP priority pass. Like on a 4 airport tour. I see like 4 of them back to back. Funny shit.
Now the lounges themselves, they're like gold when it comes to the wait periods of time or the wait time periods that you would have from the time you check in to the time you fly out. And the lounges in most places, they'll offer alcohol, they'll offer food, some will have a shower, some will have and when I say food, I may be referring to snacks, and sometimes they'll have like full-blown like meals, all types of different things that you could lay out on sometimes, not beds, but kind of like cushioned lawn chairs or so. It might be in a dark room or something, but they'll have water, they'll have refreshments, all types of things in there to make your time in the lounge as comfortable as possible while waiting. Now I have access to this through my American Express card. So when I got into Tenerife and checked in, they had a nice lounge. So I went in there, I walked around, got some food, I got some drinks, some snacks, some sandwiches, some fruits, some water, some juice. and just waited until a bit before it was my time to catch my flight. So that was cool. Now, I had already gone to the lounge in Valencia on the way over to Tenerife, so I knew what they had, and it was still nice though. When I was in the lounges, for the most part, I was usually not the only person, but there was very few people in there for whatever reason.
In another lounge, I'm like the only one in here though. I got alright stuff. I'm just drinking some coffee right now.
Those times when I was traveling back for Tenerife and Valencia, I was one of the only people in the lounge itself. So I went and I relaxed, got some food, some drinks, took some stuff on the flight, some sandwiches, whatever else that I could take with me to sustain me on my trip back. When I got to Barcelona had an amazing lounge. Too bad for me, by the time I plane got to Barcelona, it was a very short time period before my flight was to leave. And the thing that I didn't really understand about Barcelona is that when I had left from the lounge, a lady told me that it would take me about an hour or something along the lines of that to get from where the lounge was over to my flight. I couldn't really understand that. But what I had realized is that once you get from where the lounge was over to where the other side was, you got to go through another gate. So I already had checked in originally from the gate to get into the airport or get into where my flights would have been, where the departure flights were. And then I had to but wait in a long line through another gate to get over to the where my flight would have been taken up. Now in the lounge though, I was able to take a shower because I had been traveling about 15 hours up until that point, but I had been traveling a bit because I had some wait time periods in between.
Shit, finally I get to a lounge that has a shower. This was good. 12 hours ago.
So I was able to take a shower, and they had a nice shower. And Barcelona actually had the best food. I was able to, when I asked the lady, she gave me that information. I was able to take a couple of little tarts they had. I want to say they even had like hors d'oeuvres, but I didn't get to even look at them that closely to even analyze and see if they were hors d'oeuvres. I don't even know what hors d'oeuvres are, to be honest, but it just looked like something that would be called hors d'oeuvres. But anyways, they had some really nice food in that place. It looked like it was catered, well-catered food that they had in Barcelona's airport. So that lounge is if you do ever go to Barcelona and you are taking that international flight, that lounge is an absolute gem. Amongst all the lounges I've been to, best lounge in Barcelona. Even though my stay was very short, I probably had about 5 to 10 minutes to eat anything. That was a very nice lounge that they had in Barcelona. What I didn't know is that with American Express, when I took the flight from Barcelona over to Montreal, that was about an 9-hour flight or so. Really long. I'd never taken a flight that long before. Might even been 10 hours. It was really long. That's all I did. But when I got to Montreal with American Express, they only allow you the access to the lounge if you're going on an international flight. But I was going domestic because I was going from Montreal to Toronto, so we were within the same country. So it didn't allow me access. They had a Maple Leaf lounge, and I guess that would have been the Air Canada lounge. I guess maybe if you're taking Air Canada and you get some sort of upgrade, you'd have had access to that lounge. But with American Express, I didn't have access to that lounge that they had in there because I was flying domestically and not internationally. But when I did get over to Montreal, I had another wait period as well, probably about 4 to 6 hours. But I just bought some Tim Hortons and relaxed and waited until my flight, which was 4 to 6 hours later, and got on my flight, got back home, and was happy to be at home. It was a bittersweet feeling because I had such a great time throughout all the places that I passed along the way, but I was also happy to be home because I was back to everything that I was used to, and the life that I've gotten used to throughout my life. So it was a bittersweet feeling. But overall, my trip in Europe, for those 3 places, and mind you, this isn't my last trip, and this isn't the last you're gonna see of me. I got a number of different places that I'm going to frequent in Europe, because Europe looks like it has a bunch of places to offer. As a matter of fact, we got all types of different continents to get to, and I'm gonna get to all of them. I had an excellent, fantastic time going around Europe to the places that I had went, and I'm definitely gonna do it again.